Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Sean Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories. And our focus today at 6 o'clock will be on the Moodys upgrade, the rating agency that has given India an upgrade in its economic outlook. What does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for the country? We'll be talking about that with special guests later in the show. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves on a 9-day tour to France, Germany and Canada. Besides his personal touch, Make in India to be Modi's theme for the trip. Credit rating agency Moodys raises India's credit rating outlook to positive. Markets react positively to statement that it could upgrade sovereign rating in 12 to 18 months. Founder and former chairman of Satyam Computers, Rajya and 9 others sentenced to 7 years in jail for accounting fraud. 2008 Mumbai attack mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi set free by a Pakistani court, suspends Punjab government's detention order. And Yemen stares at a huge humanitarian crisis even as US backs Saudi-led coalition against Iran. India gets kudos for Operation Rahat, its biggest rescue mission. In a big vote of confidence in the Narendra Modi-led government, Moodys, the credit rating agency, today raised India's credit rating outlook to positive. It said an upgrade in its sovereign rating is also possible in the next 12 to 18 months. The markets have reacted positively with gains on Thursday. What's more, a normal monsoon prediction brings much relief to the government grappling with crop loss after unseasonal rains.
Moodys has become the first big rating firm to upgrade India's outlook from stable to positive. It brings the country a step closer to an actual sovereign rating upgrade. Moodys said there is high probability that the Modi government will enhance India's economic growth, allowing the country to outperform its peers over the medium term. Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian said Moodys upgrade validates the government's reform thrust, better growth and fiscal discipline.
The government is on what needs to be done for the sake of the economy, and we hope there'll be an investment grade upgrade, but that's not what will drive policy going forward. Absolutely. I mean, this just, as I said, it validates everything the government has been doing. Yeah.
Pace and direction of economic policy and reform that this government has been carrying it out. It also validates the fine balance that has been struck in the budget between fiscal consolidation and public investment.
Validation of the outlook on India from stable to positive by the Moodys reflects the ground realities. Obviously, we are very happy about this fact, and it will certainly increase and improve the investor confidence around the world about investing in India.
Analysts say that revision in outlook will help the government attract more foreign funds necessary to increase investments in the country's infrastructure sector. Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha said the government has restored the faith of investors and rating agencies on the growth outlook of the Indian economy.
The macroeconomic situation over the last 10 months or so while we've been in office has improved dramatically, as we would all agree, obviously due to the actions that we have taken as far as fiscal policy is concerned, as far as reforms are concerned, and also of course we have benefited from the declining commodity prices, most specifically the decline in the price of oil.
What will be music to the ears of the government? There is a normal monsoon prediction for this season after massive crop loss due to unseasonal rains across the country. The government hopes this will help in controlling inflation, which could spiral in case of a weak monsoon this year.
On inflation, our assessment still is that the end year target of 6 will be easily met, and there's going to be room for that target will be surpassed, and the forecast is very much for us, as we said in the survey, between 5 and 5.5%.
The markets also reacted positively to Moody's upgrade. Both the Sensex and Nifty gained big on Thursday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And senior editor at the Economic Times, Himanshu Vats, now joins us to help us better understand this upgrade in terms of the rating agency Moodys. Himanshu, what does this mean for, sentiment, of course, has been buoyed. We saw what happened with the markets today. But overall, what would you take from this message?
See, the significant thing in this is that, while everybody was talking about India's economy improving, outlook improving, the government is taking some very concrete steps, good steps, boosting infrastructure. But when it comes to the big investor who puts his money in India, he will not go by what the government says, what a newspaper says, what analysts generally say. They go by an independent, respected agency like Moodys or Fitch and other rating agencies. So this, in a sense, formally puts a stamp of a good outlook for the Indian economy for the major investors all over the world. They really value a rating agency's comment on a country than any other comment. So on the whole, it's very positive because,
So do we see a lot more economic activity thanks to this in terms of inflows of FIRs or other things like that?
One would expect that because, anybody who wants to put his money in India would like to know what's the outlook. And the outlook, as this agency says, is positive. So it's important, sectors like infrastructure, they need a lot of funds. The government has a, declared program wanting the world to come and make in India. For that you need funds. So once you have a credible rating agency giving a positive outlook, all this, the funding aspect would certainly get easier and better, which in turn would translate to better economic activity in terms of utilization of those funds in investment projects, factories, roads.
All right, but now if you talk about any pitfalls along the way, because Moodys has said that in 12 to 18 months it could get even better than just positive. So any pitfalls along the way, anything we should be worried about or the government should be wary about in terms of policy and decision making?
There are some risks, which is why, the investment, the rating itself has not been raised, only the outlook has been raised. One is commodity prices. India has been kind of lucky in oil prices coming down. So in case oil prices are to rise, that is a risk. Then the fiscal situation is a bit of a risk because this year, in order to fund infrastructure projects, the fiscal targets were delayed a bit. So the rating agencies would watch that. Agriculture is a risk because we've had very bad unseasonal rains. Last year the monsoon was not very good. June was almost a drought. Although the forecast is good, but this weather system is so unpredictable. So till it happens, you don't know how good or bad it was. That is a risk. And related to commodity prices and agriculture is the inflation risk. While every rating agency recognizes how much better the inflation management is, but if you have another bad monsoon or global commodity prices go up, there are no indications that such a thing would happen, but that remains a risk certainly.
So, all right, a lot of risk, but these are all things that are not at the policy level. I mean, these are out of control of the government's hand. What's in control of the government? And you mentioned fiscal consolidation, of course, the targets for that that the government has set for itself. In terms of policy, there is also contentious issues like the land acquisition bill, which in terms of FII sentiment and other investors into India, no clear policy and sort of the logjam that is happening over it could dampen sentiment as well?
Well, it could have an influence on the sentiment, but if you look at the government's ability to push through legislation, I think the change in the coal mining laws, which has done away with the monopoly in terms of a legislative obstacle, that is, I think, that was a far bigger challenge than other legislations. So it is, of course, work in progress. The government is trying to negotiate with other parties, but it has shown its determination in re-promulgating the ordinance. So political management is something investors and agencies would be watching, but I don't think anybody really expects serious trouble for the government there. But yes, this is something people would watch.
All right, Himanshu, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand this issue a little better. Well, moving on now, on to the other story that we'll be tracking right now is about the Satyam case. A special CBI court in Andhra Pradesh found the Satyam company founder Ramalinga Raju and 9 others guilty of corporate fraud. All of them were sentenced to 7 years imprisonment.
6 years after the corporate fraud shook Indian markets, a special court declared erstwhile Satyam company chief B. Ramalinga Raju and 9 others were guilty and sentenced them to 7 years in jail. Raju was also additionally fined 5 crore.
The Honorable Special Court pronounced judgment and the Honorable Court convicted all the 10 accused persons and for the different offences.
Raju has already been in jail for 32 months. He and former employee G. Ramakrishna were found guilty of destroying evidence. Except his brother B. Suryanarayan Raju and former internal chief auditor V.S. Prabhakar Gupta, the 8 others were found guilty of forgery and falsification of accounts.
Whenever a scam takes place, it is important that those who perpetrated the scam, action is taken against them and they are pronounced guilty in that sense, because this kind of scams not only break the confidence or the economic confidence within the country, but also end up costing many innocent people their life savings.
The CBI said the accounting fraud cost an estimated national loss of 14,000 crore to investors, besides helping Raju and others make unlawful gains of 1,900 crore.
In the eyes of law, there is no big or small person. Every person is judged by the evidence that is brought, by the charge that is levelled, and by the material that is placed before the court for the purposes of determining whether the crime has been committed by him or not. And in the instant case, the trial court did come to conclusion that offences have been established.
The Satyam scam came to light on 17th of January 2009 after the firm's founder and then chairman Ramalinga Raju allegedly confessed manipulating the company's account books and inflating profits over many years. The Andhra Pradesh police arrested Raju after he confessed to the fraud along with his brother Rama Raju and others. Around 3,000 documents and 226 witnesses were examined during the trial. Bureau report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The protest continued in Tamil Nadu for a third day today against the killing of 20 alleged red sandals smugglers. Several lawyers' associations joined the protests, upping the ante against the Andhra government. The state government has demanded a thorough probe into the matter and strict punishment for the policemen who allegedly staged the encounter. Meanwhile, the Andhra Pradesh government continues to defend its police force. The state police chief also backed the cops, saying they opened fire in self-defense when attacked by the alleged smugglers. Now, once again, sharp differences have emerged in the PDP BJP alliance in Jammu and Kashmir, this time over the building of a separate township for Kashmiri Pandits in the valley. While Chief Minister Mufti Saeed has clearly ruled out a separate settlement for Kashmiri Pandits, Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that the centre won't go on its back on its plans to rehabilitate the displaced community.
मेरी होम मिनिस्टर इंडिया से बात हुई, मैंने उनको कह दिया ये अलग नहीं रह सकते हैं, अगर होगा तो इकट्ठे रहेंगे। तो मैं ये यहाँ कहना चाहता हूँ हाउस से, ये हमारी एक डाइवर्सिटी का नमूना है, बल्कि जिस तरह से इस पर शोर किया गया, कोई प्लान नहीं, कोई डिसीजन नहीं, हवा बना के कह दिया गया कि भाई इनका अलग कोई होमलैंड बनाया जाएगा। That is not possible.
Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mufti Mohammed Saeed rejecting plans to create separate clusters for Kashmiri Hindus in the valley. His statement in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly comes just days after his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Rajnath Singh, where a decision to create composite townships for displaced Kashmiri Pandits was taken. Mufti asserted in the State Assembly that he would not allow Israeli-type settlements in his state.
जम्मू कश्मीर का एक मुकाम है, जम्मू कश्मीर की एक तहजीब है, जम्मू कश्मीर का एक इतिहास है, उसको जिंदा रखने के लिए ऐसी आवाजें, नफरत की आवाजें अगर रहेंगे, कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर रहेंगे, तो इकट्ठे रहेंगे, हम इसको हमारी जो तारीख है, हमारा इतिहास है, हम किसी सूरत में उसको मिटने नहीं देंगे।
Mufti's assurance to the House came amid protests by opposition parties who want the state government against ghettoization.
ये जो अखबार मीडिया में आया, जो होम मिनिस्ट्री से आया बात के उनको जमीन अलाट की जा रहे हैं, कॉलोनीज बनाए जा रहे हैं, that is not acceptable to the Jammu Kashmir people.
If the Kashmiri Pandits would like to go in a ghettoization, so be it. But if they don't want to be ghettoized, if they want to be a part of the socio-cultural milieu, get back to their home and hurt, go for that.
He doesn't want to give an inch to the Kashmiri Pandit. As far as I understand, Kashmiri Pandits are as good secular as the Muslims are. They have not asked to carve out a separate homeland.
But the ruling BJP government at the centre is not on the same page with its alliance partner PDP on the issue. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh has clarified that the government will go ahead as planned to rehabilitate Kashmiri Hindus.
जो भी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का फैसला हुआ था जम्मू कश्मीर के पंडित्स के रिहेबिलिटेशन के संबंध में फैसला वही है और उसमें जो हमारी वहाँ के चीफ मिनिस्टर के साथ बातचीत हुई है वो बहुत ही अच्छी बातचीत।
As per the common minimum program of the PDP BJP alliance government, the process of reintegrating Kashmiri Hindus within the Kashmir Valley was to begin by taking the community into confidence. But with differences emerging now, the issue is likely to take a back seat. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, more news from across the country and nationwide. 1993 Mumbai serial blast convict Yaqub Memon's plea to have his death sentence commuted to life was dismissed by the Supreme Court today. The court had earlier confirmed Memon's death sentence pronounced by a trial court before he filed this review petition. His mercy plea was rejected by President Pranab Mukherjee last year. The BJP today held a protest outside the residence of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. Party workers were staging protests alleging that AAP Minister Asim Mohammad Khan was shielding the accused in the Turkman Gate road rage case. Police had to use water cannons and batons to disperse the over 250 BJP activists who demanded that Khan be sacked. The Delhi High Court today asked the centre to expedite the process of appointment of the Chief Information Commissioner and 3 Information Commissioners and inform it by May 11th about the progress. The court observed that the delay in appointments had led to a massive backlog of cases. A bench of Chief Justice G. Rohini and Justice Deepa Sharma said the court will monitor the progress with regard to filling the vacancies in the Central Information Commission. The prosecution in the hit-and-run case today cited evidence to prove that Bollywood actor Salman Khan was under the influence of alcohol and his SUV did not have a technical snag at the time of the accident. The prosecutor argued that Salman Khan and his friend Kamal Khan fled from the accident site without helping the victims on the night of September 28, 2002. Well, time for a quick break right now. Coming up on the other side, India signed key agreements with Turkmenistan to fast-track $10 billion gas pipeline project. More on that after the break.
Prime Minister Modi on his maiden Europe tour. Huge possibilities from linking up with Eurozone powerhouses France and Germany. Just what's on offer? Watch the big picture at 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
The regional rural banks to get more financial flexibility. They can now raise capital from any source for their growth and expansion.
The reason being given is it is to induce dynamism and more financial liberty. But what is the need today? It is a way of privatization only.
Watch Law of the Land to get an insight into the Regional Rural Banks Amendment Bill 2014 this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for his 3-nation tour of France, Germany and Canada. In France, the Prime Minister will focus on technology development and tourism cooperation. In Germany, he will pitch the government's Make in India theme for manufacturing. And in Canada, Modi will focus on investment potential and engage with the Indian diaspora.
A boat ride with French President François Hollande on the River Seine, a walk together through the Hanover Trade Fair with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and addressing the Indian diaspora along with Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper in Toronto. This is how Prime Minister Narendra Modi will personalize his 9-day foreign trip that started on Thursday. In an interview to a newspaper, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "These 3 countries are major economies that have great relevance to our development process and growth. They can each contribute in terms of capital flows, technology and best practices." Economic ties are at the top of the agenda for the Prime Minister, and his itinerary reflects that. In France, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will first meet the President and the French CEOs in Paris. He will then visit the Airbus factory and discuss building smart cities in Toulouse before heading to Lille to a memorial for Indians who fought and died in the First World War. France and India will also look to finalize a proposed nuclear power project in Maharashtra. French company Areva and Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited are in talks to finalize the agreement.
Project, and it's for 6 reactors altogether, which will be 10,000 megawatts once built, and which will represent a very significant part of the electricity output of India. So it's not something which is linked to any particular visit. People are working hard. If something is ready by then, good. If it is not ready, it is that it will be ready later.
In Hanover, an informal dialogue with Chancellor Angela Merkel will be held during a walk through the Hanover Messe Industrial Fair, where India is a partner this year. The two leaders will inaugurate the India Pavilion and will walk together as they discuss the potential for German manufacturers to make in India.
India will be the exclusive partner country of the Hanover Messe, and with that India will be high up on the world stage. I think it is a unique opportunity to present Make in India and to present India's technological prowess.
His final stop in Canada will be driven by two themes: investment in India and reaching out to the Indo-Canadian community. It is the first standalone visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Canada since 1973, and Narendra Modi will travel to Ottawa, Toronto and Vancouver. A deal for nuclear fuel could be announced during the visit.
The areas that we're exploring and further building a very strong cooperation already, and that includes a wide range: science and technology, defense research. We're looking at energy, renewable energy. We're looking at clean energy, again, education and skills development. We're also looking at how Canadian capacity in some of the areas directly of interest to the Modi government, such as smart cities, intelligent cities as an example.
During this visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hard sell India as an attractive investment destination. He will woo investors and also project his ambitious Make in India initiative. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj signed a joint agreement with Turkmenistan on key bilateral and regional issues today. The two countries agreed to fast-track the ambitious $10 billion TAPI gas pipeline project. Turkmenistan is the holder of the world's fourth largest natural gas reserves and is keen to revive plans to build the Tapi pipeline, as it's called, through Afghanistan to the markets of Pakistan and India. The planned pipeline would have an initial capacity of 33 billion cubic meters a year and would run for nearly 2,000 kilometers across Afghanistan and Pakistan. On the second day of a 3-day visit, Sushma Swaraj also held meetings with the President and the Foreign Minister of Turkmenistan. Her visit is being seen as a preparatory one before Prime Minister Modi's tour in July this year.
Productive meeting with the Honorable President. We talked about bilateral relations, all pervasive, all important issues we talked about. We talked about defense cooperation, we talked about fertilizer plant.
Now, a warning for Iran to stop providing support to Houthi rebels destabilizing Yemen. The United States today said it will not stand on the sidelines while its friends and allies are attacked. The conflict in Yemen is intensifying as daily attacks on government buildings, hospitals and Sana'a are causing numerous casualties.
Amid persistent fighting, Yemen is staring at a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. The United Nations is warning of a civil war even as it appeals to all parties to find a peaceful resolution. However, no side is willing to listen. US Secretary of State John Kerry accused Iran of destabilizing the region by backing the Houthi rebels. He said the United States will stand by the Saudi Arabia-led coalition, its friends in the Middle East.
We're not looking for confrontation, obviously, but we're not going to step away from our alliances and our friendships and the need to stand with those who feel threatened as a consequence of the choices that Iran might be making.
Meanwhile, Iran denied arming the rebels in Yemen. Calling for a halt to the Saudi-led air campaign, its president said all countries in the region should work to resolve the crisis. Pakistan has agreed to work with Iran.
There was agreement on the need to de-escalate the situation and encourage the parties to move towards dialogue and resolve all their differences through political negotiations.
Yemen is not convinced. It has accused Iran of meddling in the conflict and elsewhere in the region.
هناك عدد لا بأس به من الحوثيين واتباعهم ذهبوا للتدرب في داخل إيران مع الحرس الثوري الإيراني. أيضا هناك عدد من الحرس الثوري الإيراني موجود في داخل الأراضي اليمنية يمارس مهمات حربية.
While the war is turning into a power struggle between Iran and Saudi Arabia in the region, Yemen is paying the price, with civilian targets including schools and residential localities being bombed daily. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A Pakistan court today suspended the detention order of Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, the prime accused in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks case. The court has directed that Lakhvi be released immediately. Lakhvi was in detention under a government order since December 18th after a Pakistani anti-terror court had granted him bail. The Pakistani government had detained him under the maintenance of public order rules for 3 more months at Rawalpindi's Adiala jail. Lakhvi and other LET operators were arrested in 2009 for their alleged role in the Mumbai terror attacks, in which 166 people were killed and over 300 injured. They've been charged with planning, financing and executing the attacks.
हमारा पोजीशन क्लियर है कि पाकिस्तान का जो अथॉरिटी है और पाकिस्तान का जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी है वो सारा पुख्ता सबूत जो उसके पास अवेलेबल है वो कोर्ट में देना चाहिए और सिंसियरली उसको केस को प्रेजेंट करना चाहिए. ये हमारा पोजीशन है.
आई एम नॉट सरप्राइज एट ऑल by today's order of Lahore High Court, because this order clearly shows that the detention order which was passed by the Pakistani government from time to time is nothing but just an eyewash. My basic question is, when the criminal conspiracy was hatched on the soil of the Pakistan, why they did not collect the evidence? Why they did not present the evidence before the Pakistan court?
The key accused Zokhar Sarnayev has been found guilty of the Boston Marathon bombing that took place 2 years ago. The jury hearing the bombing trial found Sarnayev guilty of killing 3 people and injuring 264 during the popular sporting event. He was also found guilty of shooting a police officer. Sarnayev was tried on 30 charges, with 17 of the charges carrying the death penalty. Defense lawyers have admitted that Sarnayev committed the crimes of which he stands accused. The jury will now decide whether to sentence him to death or life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The trial is expected to give sentencing in the case next Monday. Well, that's it from us. Goodbye.